In a Twitter rant on Saturday, a 7-part Twitter rant, so you know she was serious, Marjorie Taylor Greene encouraged her supporters to begin suing their doctors for not prescribing them ivermectin to treat COVID-19, which, as we all know, ivermectin is not a recommended treatment for COVID-19. Ivermectin is an anti-parasitic drug. You know, I know people like say it's the horse dewormer. It gets rid of worms and other types of parasites, typically in livestock, but it is used in human beings at a much smaller dosage, you know, to treat things like malaria, not COVID-19. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is furious. The doctors are out there saying, I'm not going to prescribe you this. So she says people should sue their doctors for not being given these prescriptions, which, by the way, is not something you're allowed to do. But here's just part of her little rant here. Africans have been safely taking ivermectin for decades, and many clinical trials have proven ivermectin to be a very effective, safe, and cheap treatment against COVID. Any doctor refusing to prescribe ivermectin for COVID is participating in politics that is killing people. She added, with Africa's amazingly low death rate from COVID combined with the lowest vaccine rate in the world and very little masking, the civilized leader of the world should immediately stop their tyrannical forced shutdowns, vaccine mandates, and absurd masking policies. If you had a loved one die from COVID and they were not allowed to take ivermectin or monoclonal antibodies, you might have a wrongful death suit in your hands. Whew, so much wrong, I can't even continue reading the rest of the tweets. No, ivermectin has not been proven effective and safe and healthy in studies. That's simply not a thing that has happened. I don't know where these people get this, but I'm assuming they just make this crap up because they know nobody's going to go back and do the homework. If you have a prominent person, and unfortunately Marjorie Taylor Greene is a prominent person here in the United States, an elected member of Congress, that walks up to you and says, hey, in a study, this thing was proven safe and effective. Most people aren't going to challenge that. When you have idiots out there like Joe Rogan telling people like, hey, I took it and I turned out fine from COVID, that is leading people to believe that, oh, well, I should do this too. No, you shouldn't. You should listen to your doctors. Doctors are not out there to intentionally let people die from COVID by withholding life-saving treatment. That's not a thing that's happening in this country. And as far as Africa is concerned, I'm assuming Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't heard of something called Omicron variant. Because, yeah, really working wonders over there. It's horrifying. The people there need the vaccines. But what gets me here is why are they pushing ivermectin? Like, who came up with ivermectin? With the idea that it treats COVID, at least. Like, suddenly this just became a thing. You had people rushing to livestock stores to buy the actual livestock ivermectin, overdosing on it, and they're still out there pushing it today. Why push one pharmaceutical over another is what is my big question, because that doesn't make any sense. If you were trying to, say that, oh, the drug companies are trying to keep the truth from you. No, who the hell do you think makes the ivermectin? It's the friggin' drug companies. It's the same ones. Don't you think that if they thought it would be effective, they would be the ones out there pushing it so they could make even more money off this? Your conspiracy makes no sense, and you got to at least try to make the conspiracies make sense, Marjorie. But you've got nothing to back it up. You're sitting there lying to people, telling them to blame the doctor for their family member dying, instead of the person who maybe didn't, follow safety precautions. Maybe they were an anti-masker. Maybe they were an anti-vaxxer. And I'm not saying we should blame people for their deaths, but at this point in this pandemic, we're rapidly approaching the 2-year anniversary of this. We have had vaccines available widely for almost a full calendar year. At some point, people got to take the blame for this. At some point, you have to look at these individuals and say it's not the fault of the doctor. It's not the fault of the politicians, although their talking points, of course, are leading people to believe this. So yes, they do actually share part of the blame. But ultimately, these personal decisions, the freedom to choose, is what is killing people, because they don't know what's best for them because they listen to idiots like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Aaron Rodgers, who listened to Joe Rogan, or Tim Pool, who listened to Joe Rogan. Also, not doctors. Or you listen to these other anti-vaxxers out there like Robert Kennedy Jr. They don't have medical degrees. They didn't go to medical school. They don't know what they're talking about. You're not going to sue a doctor because he wouldn't give you an antiparasitic drug for a viral infection. What that's going to do is add insult to the injury of already losing a loved one. So not only should you not be taking medical advice from Marjorie Taylor Greene, you shouldn't be taking legal advice from her either.